Greetings from New York City. I'm Phil and we're running the bridges. This is a video series where we visit all the bridges in New York City that you can run across, the big, the small, the old, the new, the world famous icons, and the ones you've never even heard of. And today we are in Inwood Hill Park and we are visiting two bridges within the park. They don't have names. I'm just going to call them Inwood Hill Park bridges. And I was debating whether or not to even include these in the series. I did not include these in my blog series, but in the end I did, because they are bridges you can walk or run across. They go over water, kind of. I'll explain that in a minute. And but mostly because of the significance of the location and the body of water that they do kind of go across. Okay, so just to clarify that, so we're in Inwood Hill Park, which is in the very northern tip of Manhattan Island. Beautiful park, gorgeous park, and we are just off the intersection of 218th Street and Indian Road, and just inside the park here. And these two bridges connect the main part of the park with a little, behind me you can see ball fields and so forth. That's like a little peninsula, sometimes called a peninsula, or you could call it an island, depending on how you consider this body of water. These two bridges connect the main part of the park with that little island. And this one that I'm currently on, you can see neither of these are available to the public for public vehicles. This one is available for public foot traffic, bike traffic, or park vehicles. And the other one just off, you can see right there, that's footbridge only. And the significance of this area and this body of water, because you can look and you can see down there, you don't really see any water, but the tide is low. When it's high tide, there's more water in there. But this is the original course of the Spuyten Duyvil Creek. Now, those who follow my videos will know by now, I've mentioned this in several videos, that the original course of the Harlem River and Spuyten Duyvil Creek is different from what it is now. The Harlem River used to go up north just south of what's now 230th Street. It used to then bend around down to the south and come down and joined up with Tibbetts Brook and Spuyten Duyvil Creek. And none of these are like creeks or rivers with a flow. They're just tidal estuaries. They're just separating the island of Manhattan from the mainland. So it was very narrow and shallow up around the northern tip, where it's now 230th Street. And in fact, the native Lenape used to call that the wading place, Wading, because you could, in low tide, you could wade across it pretty easily. But it then curved down to this, and it became Spuyten Duyvil Creek, curved down to the south, like through here where I'm now standing. And you can see behind me, that's currently, it's like considered a bay here in Inwood Hill Park, but we'll get a better view of that. And then it curved around back up to the north a little bit, and then turned west and went out into the Hudson River. And again, these are not creeks or rivers. The Harlem River, Spuyten Duyvil Creek are not creeks or rivers with any flow. The Tibbetts Brook was an actual creek that came down from Westchester, but that's a minor little detail. So here I'll just show you a little bit of looking to the north. So now you're looking to the north, and where that parking garage type structure is there, that's pretty much where the original creek came through. But it was all straightened and dredged and blasted out in order to make it useful for shipping, particularly after the opening of the Erie Canal. They thought they'd get a lot more shipping traffic coming through. Instead of bypassing all the way around the southern tip of Manhattan, they'd come through here straight out to and down the Harlem River straight out to Long Island Sound. That never really happened, but nevertheless. So the first part of the ship canal was blasted out between 1888 and 1895, where the Broadway Bridge currently is, which I did in my last video. and but it kept this southern bend. This remained until the 1930s because on this piece of land, see, now I'm on the little island. You can see nice little ball fields. There's a nature center. And you can see also on the rock over there, that sea, that's for Columbia. Columbia University has their athletic facilities just right behind me, on the just north of 218th Street here. But this piece of land, again, was originally connected to the Bronx, and it contained an iron foundry, which was particularly useful during the Civil War, and it was called Johnson's Iron Foundry. And when they dredged the first part of the ship canal, the foundry remained, and this southern bend remained in the Spuyten Duyvil Creek. That stretch of rock where the sea is, that was actually blasted out for the railroad, which is now used for Metro North, that went through there. So that was blasted out when the land was still here. But by the 1930s, they decided to straighten the entire thing. They got rid of the foundry. They blasted through that, dug that out, and so now that southern dip, that far southern dip, is part of like a bay here in the park. Some of this land on both sides of this bridge here is landfill. So the actual place where I'm standing may have been landfill. I'm not exactly sure where the demarcation was, but back behind me, that was basically where the foundry was. And so now we're just going over this other bridge, and we'll get a look at a better look at the bay. But this is a small bridge, and you can see this. See, so they keep it, and there's a little bit of water coming through there. But again, the tide is low right now, so in high tide, there's more water coming through here, and so there is the bay and the beautiful hills. That's all those hills up there. That's Inwood Hill Park. It's a gorgeous park to run through. You can spend all day here. And in fact, I'm going to do, if I do a series of videos about the parks of New York City that are best to run in, Inwood Hill Park is definitely one of the best parks to run in. And you can see behind me, so right behind me there, that's 218th Street and Indian Road. So you can see where we are within the park. If you're looking to get up here, the access, there's a subway station on the one train at 215th. There's also one at 225th on the other side of the Harlem River Ship Canal. But so I decided to do these two bridges because, again, I think that historical aspect of having the Harlem River Ship Canal dredged out, and then Marble Hill, which had been attached to Manhattan Island for about 20 years after they dredged this canal. It was like still remained like a separate island, and they eventually decided to fill in that narrow, shallow waterway that separated it from the Bronx. So now Marble Hill is connected to the Bronx, but it's still part of Manhattan. So my question is, this little piece of parkland here, which was originally connected to the Bronx, is it still part of the Bronx? Did I just go between the Bronx and Manhattan right there? That's my question. There's no housing there. There's no residential. But just out of curiosity, whose jurisdiction is that little piece of land, even though it's within Inwood Hill Park, which is Manhattan? Anyway, that's just one of the little things that makes my mind spin. But that is a look at the Inwood Hill Park bridges, a little bit of the history of the Harlem River Ship Canal, Spuyten Duyvil Creek, and a little bit of a look at Inwood Hill Park on this beautiful spring day. And so I hope you all enjoyed that. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you out here running sometime, and we'll see where the wind takes us for the next one.